Hello and welcome. It's me, Persita, and this is Persita's Paradox. Thank you so much for joining me today. I greatly appreciate your time, your effort, and energy in finding the channel. If you're new to this channel, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to come and speak to you today. And if you are an OG, you know the rules. Thank you so much, as always, for holding down the channel. So, long story short, did anybody rest? Did anyone actually look at the last video that I put out, and when I asked you to rest and told you how it was so important for you to rest? Well, take it from me, I took my own advice and I took a rest. Thanksgiving was fantastic. I typically cook for a plethora of people, and it was like no other year. So therefore, your girl needed a rest. But I come to you full throttle, full of energy today, and I'm super excited to talk to you. And I figured, since we're coming off of the Thanksgiving vibe, what better way to talk than actually talk about the importance of fellowship. And I say this because we as a society have a long history right now in our social media content about really discussing the people who have left us or the people who are not with us. And I'm not talking about from the physical sense if they've passed away. I'm talking about more of like, we are all right by ourselves and we can do whatever we want by ourselves and we're strong by ourselves, blah, 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 right? I get that. Not at all explaining that again today. What I want to actually talk about is just the idea of really understanding the importance of fellowship. So I say that because I want to talk to you about what you actually did over this little Thanksgiving break that we had. And what I want to get you to ponder today is, who do you take the time to fellowship with? We are continuously talking about keeping our environment clean and productive and positive and all those things. Again, you hear the metaphors coming out, keep the negative energy away from me and blah, blah, blah. And that is extremely, extremely true. But what I want to talk about is just what we do when we're with the people that we want to be with. And are we actually taking the time to embrace and enjoy, love on the ones that we're with instead of so much talking about the ones that are not with us, right? So today, I thought about it because when I was going through the whole cooking thing and, trying to really make my life work, my God, between my work schedule and my other schedules, I was just a little overwhelmed this year. And it's funny because I feel like the food was even better than it normally is. And I don't know if that was because I literally put my soul into making food. And let's be clear, I don't make any food from store-bought, let's say. I won't say so much from scratch because clearly the recipes and things that I'm using aren't necessarily scratch, but they take a lot of energy. And I typically am cooking for a 2-day period, and I bake all these pies and sweets and all this bad stuff. Well, it's good stuff, but it's not really good stuff if you're eating it on a regular. And I go through this whole thing, right? And it's like this energy that I want to put into the food because I want to make sure that people know that I appreciate them coming, and I want it to be a special day. And I say that because I started to really ponder, am I actually doing that? Not the cooking part, but am I actually doing the enjoyment and embracing the people that are around me when it's not Thanksgiving? I think it's a natural instinct for us all to want to do that during the Thanksgiving holiday because it's kind of predisposed to be in the agenda. You don't really think about not being around people that you want to be around for Thanksgiving. Of course, we all have that someone that, is not necessarily always welcomed, but needs to be invited, so to speak. But, luckily in this stage in my life, I don't really have a lot of that, but I know a lot of people who do. But in the same breath, I'm just understanding that there's a lot of the idea of Thanksgiving that should actually be perpetuated throughout the entire year. So what I want you to ponder is, can you create that energy? Can you create that synergy of expectation of happiness and love and support that we give during the Thanksgiving day, particularly as you do your day-to-day life, right? Now, I'm a big proponent on going out to eat and things like that. So it's always funny because most people don't even really realize that I can actually cook. But to say all of that, I try every time that I'm out to make that energy happen for myself. It's not something that I share. So it was something that I thought that I would share today with you all to say, that is really important, right? And to brace it just like that, that is really an important tactic of your day-to-day life and your decompression of what it is that you go through in life. And I, again, express it because I don't think we understand what I'm saying when I say that. If I use the sense of fellowship and the idea of how important it is to your soul, it's almost like investing in yourself. If you were considering yourself the food, the time, the effort, the energy that we put into a Thanksgiving holiday, if you put that into yourself on a daily, meaning everything that you do outside of work and outside of circumstances that you cannot control who you're quote unquote fellowshipping with, but those specific moments and times in the day when you can actually designate specifics of who you're talking to, are you really enjoying that moment? Even if it's not a conversation that you want to talk about. So we're not saying it in the premise of the conversations and everything that are transpiring are pleasant, but we're saying that it needs to be enjoyable because even if it's not pleasant, you have to recognize that it's needed, right? So I say that because I think sometimes we miss the mark. We get so caught up on the moment that we miss the buildup. We miss what happens after. We miss what we need to do to sustain it and keep it ongoing. And it kind of reminds me of like the idea of a wedding, in the sense of everyone is caught up on what the wedding looks like and what the dress is and how many people are there and all the decor and da-da-da-da-da, but not very many people plan after that day. A lot of marriages suffer because they only really think about that particular day. They only really think about just the party of it, right? Just the idea of just looking great in the moment. I am trying to be thankful and enjoyable and embracing the people that I love beyond that point, to a place of sustainment, to a place of taking again the energy that I feel for those people. And some I won't really get to see very often other than Thanksgiving. But even with that, I want to then be able to fellowship in that security of knowing that I'm creating almost like a giant hug, just a surrounding, a encompassment of Thanksgiving enjoyment and love, right? So those are just the words that I think were super duper like on point for what I'm trying to say today. So I say that because I don't really know if we really do that. I don't really know if we understand that we do a lot of things that are kind of, butt backwards, so to speak. It equates to, I know a few people that buy cars, right? And let's just say when they're buying their car, they buy very expensive cars and they pay a pretty hefty amount of monthly payment on the car. But if I was to turn around and ask that same person to then invest that same kind of money into themselves, they look at me crazy. I'm like, if your car note is $600-$700 a month and you're not willing to put $600-$700 a month into yourself, then you would be crazy, because you're literally investing in something and spending your money on something that not only is it depreciating, it has already depreciated. From the moment you acquire it, it's depreciating. But yourself, right? You don't want to put that kind of money into. And I always want to say to people, and sometimes I do say directly if I know you that way, really think about what you're saying. Because if you're having a hard time in doing that, there's really something wrong with the way that you gauge your perspective of what importance is and how you actually differentiate your goals and perspectives of where you want to go. Because most people that I've ever said it back to had no idea that it really sounded that crazy until I said it to them. So if you're going to have an expensive car, then you should also be willing to put that type of money into yourself, your mental, your physical, whatever that is, in order to sustain yourself. Because guess what? You have to be with you. That car will depreciate. You'll want another car. You'll move on. You'll buy another car, so on and so forth. But you're not quite that disposable. So if you catch what I'm trying to say, it's like we have to look at the fellowship of what we do and who we do it with to be just as important. Now, to tag on to that, of course, we're talking about who exactly are we keeping in our fellowship. That's also key. I won't really say it's an easy tactic to get rid of relatives, so to speak, or cut off relatives. I mean, it can be done. Let's just be honest. But we want to not have to do that. We want to really hope and pray that the people that are coming around us, ideally for something like a Thanksgiving, are people that we want to be around, right? So you want to also have that same concept when you're talking about the people that you want to be around on a daily. To have someone that you can actually, expose yourself to and be vulnerable to is fantastic. Some people enjoy doing that with their mates. That's fantastic if you have that type of dynamic. Some people do to some level, but then still want to divulge something else with someone else because of the premise. Maybe you want to talk about your husband or your wife, and that sounds crazy, but there is a place where you still have yourself within your intimate relationships that aren't necessarily always exposed to the other person. And me personally, I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. I know a few people who would say, oh, no, Priscilla, you want to be wide open and you want to tell your mate everything and all things. And I say whatever floats your boat, whatever makes your relationship work, because not all relationships are one size fits all. So that's the thing that we have to get out of our heads, that everyone's fellowship, everyone's love, everyone's respect and thanksgiving for one another will look the same. It won't. What I'm proposing is that whatever it looks like for you, that you embrace it and you nurture it and you make sure that you sustain it by actually practicing it. And in that practice, it requires you to do it often. So many of us want to do things, but we don't really like the work of the practice. Once we've failed, once it, collapses, we don't find ourselves wanting to get back up. But you want to really fight that feeling. You want to get to a place where you understand that fellowship is important. It's also important because it actually keeps you in a moving manner. It keeps you in a place of continuously thinking about where you are and where you want to go and where you've been, right? You want to be in a space to really embrace that. And there's just something about this Thanksgiving season that brings forth the idea of how often throughout the year we don't fellowship, which is why we get so caught up on Thanksgiving and why we all feel a certain way about the holidays, because it brings the idea of bringing your loved ones together so that you can then have this fellowship. And I'm proposing, one, to do it more often, especially if people that you love are close and dear to you. You don't need a holiday to propose to them the idea of coming together and having the dinner or doing whatever it is you want to do, having some type of an outing, but something. So get out of the habit of just finding societal reasons to do it, and just do it because it's necessary. Just do it because it feels good. Just do it because you understand that that energy is important, because you want to be around those people who are literally tooting your own horn. Of course, we know you must toot your own horn because, the cliche is if you don't do it, then no one else will. Well, I would like to actually counter that and say you can do it and do it well and still appreciate and still want the admiration and consideration of others to verbally also give you that accolade or to somehow show you that sense of accolade. So I just want to push that out today. I want to be very clear on, I think it's important for us to step up out of ourselves and really push harder in the idea of just fellowshipping. I just think it's good for the soul. I think it's just something that we can do and we can all do, even if you have to do it via potluck. Now, of course, I'm not going to do it throughout the year where I'm cooking, because Thanksgiving is it. That's my day, right? That I'm going to all, balls to the wall, or however you want to put it. I'm going to just actually kick it all out and make it work. But all the other days, my family and friends know that we will be going out for someone else to cook. Okay, so that's just me. But find a way, find something to do, even if it's not surrounded around food. Like I said, some type of activity, some type of a phone call, some type of a FaceTime, hell, even a Zoom of your relatives could even work at this point. And I say relatives because I'm thinking of Thanksgiving, but do note that I'm speaking of anyone that you consider near and dear to you. Embrace them, love them, enjoy them, be thankful for them, and really, really, really move in a manner that you understand that you can accomplish more together, especially when you're talking about mental and physical health. So, as always, that was my rattle for the day. I had to come back and give you some love, tell you I missed you, because of course I did, but I did rest like the last video told you to. And now moving forward, we go into our Christmas holiday. Lord be with us, because between these Black Friday sales and cyber sales that are all kind of not sales, but just a way to get us all to believe it, even though most stores have been celebrating Black Friday since August. But you didn't hear that from me because I'm not one to gossip. But watch your money, be logical, and make sure that you are making the best decisions. People that are shopping, I'm big to tell everyone this year, look in your closet first. Make sure you need what you need. Create a wish list. Make sure that the things that you want are the things that you're acquiring, and you're not just going for quantity over quality. Best way I can put it. Other than that, you know the drill. I will see you soon in the next video. But before we leave, remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe, especially if you've been in the video this far. And always remember to do 3 things. Live life authentic, and make sure you're fellowshipping a little bit more. Thank you so much for joining me. I greatly appreciate you, and have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye-bye.